first saying hi to everybody. It's so good to see. Oh, that's right. I did want to take off my mask for up here. Okay. Glad you were able to make the trip safely, Hannah and Aaron. And it's good to see everybody. Okay. What a strange sight we are. Some of us squeezed inside a tiny screen, the rest of us masked up. All of us gathered to commemorate Dad's life. I'd like to start by simply putting his name out into our circle, Robert Allen Lewis. As a young person, Dad was involved in Scouts and attended Pleasant Ridge Presbyterian Church, where both of his parents were quite active. I know that Dad was close to his father and that the importance of sports was cemented as a child. Apparently, his father played softball. A story that clearly impressed me from Dad's childhood is that Grandma Marie made raisin-sweetened Boston brown bread in coffee cans. I'll send you the recipe. She gave the round loaves to Dad to sell to neighbors on Woodmont and allowed him to keep the earnings. A story related to his own father's death I learned through Webb. When Dad's father was dying in the hospital of colon cancer, apparently Dad was not allowed to be with him. Dad climbed up the fire escape to visit through a window. This story resonates with me all the more as Sherry and I stood outside Dad's window at Alois. Dad was a salesman all his life and had a strong work ethic. He was also his worst enemy. He was a perfectionist. And when he didn't play a sport as he was accustomed, he quit. After Dad stopped playing basketball, he took up golf. Due to a carpal tunnel and subsequent surgery in 2006 that affected his game, he stopped playing altogether. Not only did he leave an activity he had devoted much of his life to, but also he sadly lost friendships. I'm fortunate that due to Dad's diligent work ethic, we lived a prosperous life. I'm grateful for all the good times my parents provided for us three girls. Grateful that after Mom and Dad divorced, that Dad met Mary, excuse me, not only giving him companionship, but also an additional family who became an integral part to his life. I'm also grateful to my sister Sherry, who risked her own health by freely visiting Dad through the pandemic. Lastly, I look forward to the time we can safely gather in person to celebrate his life at Coldstream. And now Laura.
Okay, I don't know if y'all can hear me.
Speak as loudly as you can.
Okay. continue your tradition of calling on your three girls, and when you are able to connect with each one of us on the same day, you continue to say that it was your lucky day. I hope that you check in regularly and watch over me, Sherry, and Debbie consistently. Keep cheering for the Seahawks as they are, as you call it, a hell of a ball club. And keep admiring Russell Wilson as he is a hell of a quarterback. And as you watch your favorite sports, you eat your favorite takeout food, like P.F. Chang's and Outback Steakhouse. And on special occasions, you even get Montgomery ribs. I love you, Dad, and you will be missed. Reiner, Max, Erica, and I will know that you will be with us in our hearts and in our minds' eyes today, tomorrow, and as time marches on. They say that heaven is a place where dreams come true, and I am wishing you the happiest of dreams as you rest and play in peace. That's it.
And Norma, if you would step behind the green before you take your mask off, I would like to know. Step up right to the top, right over here, right to here. And that's perfect. Now you can take your mask off.
I can? I'm just going to say something impromptu right now. Bless us all, and may we all join together with our sharing of our lives with Bob and the sorrow that we're feeling today. We all need each other, and we all should give each other the best support we can. So what I wrote was, I met Bob in the summer of 1956. A sorority sister called me and asked if I would be interested in a blind date. I accepted, and we all went to Moonlight Gardens at Coney Island, which happened to be ladies' night. I was swept off my feet meeting a college guy who belonged to a fraternity, Sigma Chi, active in sports at the University of Cincinnati, such as basketball. His nickname was Ace because he was so fast. He was on the tennis team and active in other intramural activities like basketball. After his graduation, he became in charge of running the intramurals at the University of Cincinnati for a short time. Then, in addition to his newly full-time work, he began a master's program at Xavier University. But what impressed me most about him was that he had given up a full basketball scholarship at DePaul University in Indiana and moved back to Cincinnati. This was to give his mother emotional support since his father had just passed away, well, about a year before, but maybe 6 months before, I can't remember. I never met his father. Bob and I had 3 little girls, for which I am forever grateful. Who would have known that from these girls we would be blessed with 9 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren? I am forever grateful that he found a loving wife, Mary, and he was able to enjoy the experience of an even larger family. My heart is with you all during this difficult time, and I send you all my love and support. Bob will be missed.
Yeah, is it my turn, Debbie?
Yes, your turn, Hannah.
Alright, I'm gonna go. I will always remember how much Grandpa appreciated and loved my mom, and how we'd always end each call with, "I love you," even when leaving a message. Grandpa was so good at remembering details about our lives when talking to us, and would always ask about Zach. We were lucky that my mom, Debbie, planned visits with him whenever we were in town, whether at Bob Evans, at their house, Mary and Bob's house, or at the farm. And I'm very grateful for the time we spent with him and these once I was away from home. And of course I will remember his love of ice cream. One bowl was never enough. We always had to make sure we had multiple pints in the house when he would come for dinner. I definitely inherited this, and so did my daughter Remy. Whenever she asked for more ice cream, I will think of Grandpa.
Okay. Can folks hear me?
Yes, speak loud.
All right. I have 3 things to share from 3 different phases of life. The first is babysitting. Over the years, we had several babysitters. As you all know, there were a lot of us to take care of. But one of the most frequent was Grandpa and Mary. In fact, this is how the grandkids really got to know Mary before they even got married. One thing I most remember from these experiences was playing hide and seek with Grandpa. Looking back, I know he must have really enjoyed that time with us, because he kept coming back and he kept playing hide and seek with us for many years. The second is a little bit odd. It's hard pretzels and cheese whiz. So for some reason, I'm the only Westheimer with this memory, but I'm hoping some of you today can validate this. So I remember going over to Grandpa and Mary's house for holidays as we were growing up and being introduced to this snack. Here, I'll show you. Here is a Snyder's pretzel, and this is Cheese Whiz. And it's the perfect marriage of foods that I love. And I know that it's a really odd snack, but it's one that I still have today, and I think I'll always have, and I'll always think of Grandpa because of this snack. I'm not going to eat it in front of you. Finally, later in life, and as I became a grown-up, Grandpa took more interest in catching up on phone calls, and I would call from time to time. What I'll remember most from these calls is Grandpa's sincere interest and ability to remember what was going on in my life or the lives of the rest of his family. Rarely focusing on himself, he'd ask about work or tell me about how wonderful his daughters were or how impressed he was with my dad and his running. I'm thankful for these memories, and I'm thankful that my mom always encouraged me to check in with Grandpa and have these calls to remember.
I'm going to jump and say a few things. As we've all mentioned before, sports were always an important part of Grandpa's life. And any conversation that I had with him over the past decade plus always kind of ended up with sports. Specifically basketball for me. Living in the Bay Area with the Golden State Warriors, he always told me that they were his favorite team. Now it sounds like there may be some discrepancies with the Seattle Seahawks, but he always told me that Steph Curry was his favorite and always asked me about how he was doing. Though I've never been to a game or seen Steph play, I always try to stay up on the stats to have a somewhat coherent conversation and be able to kind of engage and dedicated to his care. She was attentive and organized and was able to kind of adapt to his changing symptoms, and she always kept us abreast about what was going on, how his health was, his well-being, and of course the always gentle reminders to call and to check in. And we really, I think all five of us truly appreciated that, to have that engagement. Her dedication to his health was just fabulous to see. COVID obviously added some extra barriers, both physical and logistical, but I loved hearing how Debbie would go over to Bob and Mary's house and bring her own chair and sit outside and kind of do some socially distanced gatherings. He always kind of harked back to those visits and told us how much he enjoyed visits when we checked in on him. These are great memories to have, and really happy to share with you guys today.
Thank you, David.
Mary.
Mary, if you would spend some time today, before you take up the mask, I'll make sure that you guys are That's perfect.
Okay, well, Bob and I were married just 27 years. We were married on October the 30th, and of course, he died November the 1st. November the 30th. I wanted to say that the things that drew me to Bob was his quick wit and his personality. He always seemed to have a good sense of humor. I learned that we had certain values and interests that were the same. We enjoyed the same things. We enjoyed playing golf together, and we had many happy days. What I really wanted to talk about is heaven and the hereafter. I believe that at the time of death, some loved one comes and takes Bob to heaven. This might have been Webb, or it could have been his father. We don't know. But once he got there, he was greeted by a lot of relatives and friends who he will enjoy being with. I think that heaven is everything that we love about earth, except that it's even better. It's unlimited. So I picture Bob, the perfectionist that he was, playing golf and making it that perfect game that he always strove to do here in this life. And I know that at this time we miss him, but I choose to dwell on the happy moments, and we had many happy moments together.
So I have Pete's words to read. I have Pete's words to read, but I first wanted to reflect on some of my favorite childhood memories with Bob. He really taught me how to play games of strategy and think with a competitive edge. It started out as checkers when I was a little girl, and then he began to teach me chess, which I was really excited about because that was something that the two of us could do together, and we really bonded over. And then he also taught me hearts, which he always had to shoot the moon. As much as I tried to save all of those cards to do it, he got it every single time. And I just remember that would be such a coming together activity of being with my grandpa Bob and my Nana and sitting at the table and staying up past my bedtime just to play another round. So now on to Pete's. First, let me say that I wish I could be there in person to say these words to you. But because of the virus and my work schedule, I simply cannot be with you today. It is a solemn occasion for all of us who knew and loved Bob. I helped care for him for several months, so I got to know him little by little over time. And while I know my tribute is incomplete, I hope to convey to you some sense of what made Bob happy. First, you should all know that Bob loved Mary and his children very much. Bob always spoke about how happy he was as a husband and a father, and that his family was the most important asset that he would ever have. I say asset because Bob always loved keeping a very close track on his finances. He always woke up before the chickens and spent much of his time watching cable television to see how his investments fared and what influenced his portfolio in a positive or negative way. Bob always said that I brought him good luck with his stocks, though I'm sure it had more to do with his passion for trading and the markets. He always started our sessions with a briefing on his stocks, and I can say I learned a lot from watching the shows with him as he told me about what he saw and how it influenced his own financial decisions. Sports was Bob's other passion. We always talked about the Bengals and the NBA. Bob had high hopes for the Bengals' rookie quarterback, but like most, wondered why the team couldn't put a good offense line or defense into the field to help Joe Burrow. His favorite pro basketball player that he told me about was LeBron James. But he also enjoyed seeing the young stars emerge as the Lakers won the NBA championship this past season. Golf was even more important to Bob than basketball. It was a constant conversation for us, especially during the majors, like the Masters. Bob admired Tiger Woods and Justin Thomas and often talked about his younger days when he would tee off on the courses over the country where he honed in his game. I wouldn't want to face Bob if drinks on the 19th hole were at stake. Bob spent much of his life staying fit. He was a very eager riser and actually had keys to the Cincinnati Athletic Club where he worked almost daily. Even though his health declined in recent years, Bob and I achieved a goal to start walking outside again. We started small in his neighborhood, then worked our way up to several hundred yards at the Rentschler Park. All in all, I can best sum up Bob in one word, and that word is happy. He worked hard all his life to take good care of his loved ones. I'm glad that I got to know him and be a part of his life. I will always remember his warmth, humor, and his determination to be a good man, friend, father, and husband.
So this is now an open time before Bob closes. Is there anybody either on the street or here that would like to speak that hadn't planned to originally?
Get all my protective gear off. So much has been said about Bob. One thing, I will circulate a picture that I have of him where I made him write down his prediction that the Bengals would win the Super Bowl and hold up the picture next to his face so I could show it to him at the end of every season, because he was always an optimist at the beginning. But I most want to talk about the people here who showed me a lot about love in Bob's last years. And that would be Debbie and Sherry and Mary, your family. Because Bob's last years were so challenging, and the people who showed their love for him over these last few years by persistently putting themselves out there, by just doing whatever they could for his well-being, just overwhelms me when I think about the generosity and love that the three women here and their families have shown. And Doug, I extend that to you with all of the amazing, just whatever it took to get over there and to get Sherry over there. And of course, Bob and Alyssa and your family, just all of that was just a real lesson to me in generosity and unconditional love. Is there anybody on the screen who wants to give us a word or two? I can't see you, so you'll just have to speak up. Okay, hearing none.
Yep, sure. I know. Well, I can duck. All right. Let me know when you're in your spot. Is that okay? Thank you. Well, most Sunday afternoons, Bob and Mary would come to our house for dinner, and we always look forward to these visits when Bob and we'd enjoy a beer, in his case, Budweiser, and conversations about sports. He'd walk in with a greeting and a compliment, and not many people in life called me Robert, but Bob did. He'd always come in and go, "Hello, Robert." Then we talk about the day's Bengals game, or how the Cavs or the Lakers did. He embraced my love of the game. He'd say, "Go Cavs," or "Go Lakers." And then sometimes he'd assume the role of coach in our conversations, questioning Steve Kerr's decision to set out Steph Curry that day. Let him shoot, Bob would advise. Bob was a man who admired excellence. His favorite football player, Tom Brady. His favorite basketball player, Steph Curry and LeBron James. He loved Ohio State, Tiger Woods. He loved competition and rooted for teams and players. And besides admiring excellence, he exemplified excellence when he played sports and when he lived life. He mastered the perfect swing or on the golf course and acted as a consultant for other players at his beloved Coldstream Country Club. Besides sports, the Bob that we knew and loved in recent years was because he was a gentle man in the true sense of the word. He would greet us at the door with a kind word and a compliment. He would ask us how school was, how Hannah and Aaron were doing when they lived in California. In my final conversation with Bob, I updated him on the latest Bengals news because it was a Monday I spoke with him and the game, of course, was on Sunday. I told him that I loved him and how his family loved him dearly. I prayed with him. I asked if he wanted to say these words in his mind, if he wanted to say them, to ask to have Jesus to come into his heart and accept him as a Lord and Savior. We come here today from different faiths and backgrounds, but I know we can all agree that Bob Lewis enjoyed a life well lived. And I pray that he is now in a place of peace and comfort and a place, of course, with beautiful fairways.
So thank you all on the Zoom call. I'm going to turn the camera around so that you can see this lovely assemblage of masked people. You can imagine through their eyes. Hold on a second. And you can see the pods have sort of collapsed in on themselves. Debbie over there and Debbie's in my pod. But we so appreciate those of you who have come on the Zoom call, just being part, and we look forward to checking in with you when we all are not out in the wind. So love you all, and Eva, thank you for recording this. And I'm gonna cease this. I mean, you can actually watch us as we try to visit distance with each other, but you all can move on or stay with us. Oh, one more thing. Say it again.
So move the stand back because Carrie's going to put the urn in the... Wait, no, you don't touch the table. Move the
wrong. Sherry is going to. And move this?
Yep, move everything. Well, not that. Just move. See. So,
What does he need to move? Go ahead.
yeah. And
Watch out. Just pick the whole
later on
table.
this afternoon, I'll be sending out the recording to everybody. Of course, you'll be able to hear better on the screen. So, Sherry. Sherry, there's a golf ball and keys right here if you'd like to put them in. Okay.
Yes, put in.
She's bringing it.
Just put it down. They're waiting. Okay. I'll have to see the point. Put them down on that. Mom.
Do you want me to get the caulk and the gravel?
You want to set it on there? You want me to?
I will.
All right, that's fine. Just be careful.
Do you want to take video of this?
It's not.
If you want to turn around to the other side, just a little
get
bit
it.
so I can get you.
Get out of here.
Okay, so we have 1983 British Open. And we have the the PGA Championship, Pebble Beach, Coldstream tees, Coldstream balls.
There's a roll of tape.
Oh, yeah.
Sherry?
Yeah. You want those in there?
Mm-hmm. A bag for each of you and myself. What are those? Rose petals.
Huh?
You need help? You all right?
His animals. So, people can stay and visit it as long as they'd like, and if you would like, I'll be happy to show you where Marie and Albert are there.
Well, I'm not done yet.
So you seal that with
A caulking. And then he'll put the lid on top.
Norma's not done yet.
it's a concrete caulking.
Who's not done?
Norma.
You want to put some on the top?
So are you still?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to take these buckets. These are rose petals from Laura because she can't be here, so she in spirit is also putting some rose petals on her dad's urn.
Hi, Laura.
And
Hi, Laura.
Debbie, I gave you yours. Sherry, you put yours on, didn't you? Okay.
Be careful, Norma, not to get it on.
That's all right. I'll help her.
It's okay. And these rose petals is from me in my memory with all my years with him, with our children. And I also have some golf balls. I couldn't find a red one, but historically, years ago, Bob honestly painted his golf balls red when he went out in the winter to play golf. Honestly, nobody was doing it at this time. So they finally came out with manufacturing red balls and yellow balls. I don't know what his thoughts were on that later in life, but he had the idea before anybody else. We could have been a millionaire or something. Anytime now? Okay. If anybody wants to put any dirt in, that's an option. Dick? Okay. Oh, sorry, Mary. Here's
Oh,
the
it's
trowel.
fine. She got it.
If you did want a trowel, there it is.
We don't trip.
No, I want that there. That was the connection. That's the internet.
Okay. Got everyone? Hold on just a minute. My mom is seeing if Sherry wants to do it. And you want to go in front or you want me to go ahead of this? You want me to go ahead of this?
Hey, Doug. Doug,
Use your,
you're in front of
use
me.
your hand or the trowel, whatever you would like. I'm going to do one for Laura. This is for Laura. This is for me. And, look, Sherry, you want to put this here?